We talk about the protests, we talk about what happened in G7. How do you think G20 is going to welcome President Trump? Is it going to be 19 versus the 1?
Well, thus far, the welcome hasn't been so warm, at least with the mass protests in Hamburg. I think a lot of the leaders are going to try to make nice with President Trump, but everyone's waiting for his meeting with Vladimir Putin and to see what comes out of that. That is, I think, has everyone sort of on the edge of their seat, and frankly, no one knows what, if anything, will come out of that. I think many expect that not much will happen, that this will just sort of be their first sort of initial meeting. They'll, talk about various issues. The president said he's going in with no agenda. Right. But we don't really know if there's something more, if there's going to be some sort of deal that comes out of that.
Max, I mean, I'm not trying to make light of this, but these are two big egos that are going to be meeting up tomorrow. Who's going to own who, do you think? Well,
I think Putin's going to own President Trump. I mean, the fact is that Putin is a seasoned veteran president who's been around the block a long time. As a former KGB official, we know that he prepares for these meetings extensively, and he will have an agenda. And the fact that President Trump is going without an agenda means that they're going to talk about the issues that President Putin wants to talk about with the United States. And that's going to be about lifting sanctions, about maybe some sort of agreement or deal about Syria. And the question is whether Trump bites on those offers. And if he does, then I think it could have sort of a seismic impact on the U.S.-European relationship.
I believe Tillerson's also going to be in this meeting. They're going to have 2 translators there. I mean, this is a very, very big deal for the White House. And, here in the U.S., I think it's going to be probably as closely watched as the Comey hearings, Max. I mean, this is, again, this is, again, made for television. How do you think, then, if you think Putin's going to own Trump, how do you think Trump exactly can deflect that? How do you think he can fight back, essentially?
Well, frankly, the Russians don't offer the United States very much right now. So there isn't anything to really make a deal about. I think in a normal situation with a normal American administration, this would be a very confrontational conversation, similar to the ones that President Obama had with Putin over the last few years, in which Putin would be confronted about their interference, not just in the U.S. election, but in the French election, but in the Dutch election, in some of their actions in Syria, and especially their actions recently in Ukraine. So the fact that that's probably not going to come up is rather troubling from an American perspective. And I think one thing about the roster of who's attending is it's really surprising that the National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster, who is there, is not going to be in the meeting. And instead, the person with the most government experience on the United States side is not the president, is not the Secretary of State, but will be the translator, is rather troubling.